What's going on, y'all? I'm back with another quick volume of Welcome to the Franchise here. Just want to tap back in real quick with the NFL, some of my takes on the off season with the draft aftermath. Want to tap into some of the teams that I think are going to be, them teams that no one's really looking out for, but they might have a big turnaround or come out of nowhere this season or for the next couple seasons to be a playoff contender. So with that being said, let me tap straight into it with y'all. The draft is long over now. It's the off season. It's kind of quiet. Some OTAs or team activities that have started, whatever. All of that shit. So it's kind of quiet and slow right now, especially after the draft being completed. And then on my last couple volumes, of course, the NBA has been actually entertaining and everything, more than entertaining. And you got that shit going on. But in the meantime, between this layover, I do want to talk quickly about a few, like I said, NFL teams that after the draft and what they did last year also in the all season and the draft and throughout the season, they could be sneaky playoff teams this season or next season or the next couple of seasons. So I'm going to talk about the new wave of talented teams that I'm going to say, I'm going to put them in the category here of they ain't going to see us coming. These are the teams that I want to talk about here where it's like, yo, these motherfuckers is not going to see us coming. They ain't thinking about us or whatever that. Are probably you're going to see an impact record-wise or postseason-wise with the draft that they had this year especially, and the draft, they probably had drafted all season of moves they made last year and what they probably going to be primed to do going forward in next year or, the next couple years to come. So obviously I'm talking about some teams that haven't been in the playoffs recently or didn't make the playoffs last year especially. And I'm talking about teams that I can see. Just want to talk a little bit from a position of having a little bit of foresight. Some teams that I can see in the next, 2 years, a 2-year window that you're going to be like, oh, shit, we ain't see these motherfuckers coming. And they're going to be the new wave of talented teams to make the playoffs year in and year out. And don't take into consideration the order and everything like that, how I'm numbering. I'm not saying they're going to be the best just because I say number one. I just made the list. I'm just going to talk about what I've seen and shit. So number one, I'm going to go with the Panthers. All right. So with the draft that they had, you got guys, some guys I could, pick off the top of my head here. Late round guy like Lathan Ransom at safety. That motherfucker always be all around the field. He's going to be a factor for them to produce and contribute in the next couple years or very fast. Ted McMillan, you got the receiver there for Bryce Young, who's starting to make a turnaround with his play in his career last year. You already got Ike Ekwonu on the offensive line there. You got some receivers there and Xavier Legette. I think they still got Thielen, but I think there's another young cat I think they got on their roster also. That could be a nice little gadget play guy, something like that. And then it looks like they're building up more on their defense as well with some of their picks. But the Panthers, I can see them, making a turnaround this season. Like, oh shit, we didn't see these motherfuckers coming. They fuck around. Now they 9-8. You know what I mean? Not saying they'll make the playoffs this year, but they're not gonna have as bad or crazy losing record like they did the previous 2-3 seasons or longer than that. I can't see them having that. It's like, oh shit, we might have to look out for them next year, and then the moves that they make, for next year, and they might fuck around and sneak in the playoffs next year. Will be a team that's like, oh, we got to worry about them now in the playoffs. Now, I ain't gonna hold you. It's still a little bit skeptical about Bryce Young. Yeah, he had a turnaround later on in the season. We got to see how he comes out this year. They got him more help. I think for shorter quarterbacks that have to find their way with an opening to throw the ball, I think it's always best for them to have big receivers every single time. So now he has two of them. You got Legette, and now you got Ted McMillan. And I think that's going to help him out. I'm still a little bit skeptical of how he's going to turn out overall as being, a quarterback to really get you in the playoffs and win big playoff games and shit. But we'll see. This could only help here, and also with them building on the defense as well, that's going to help them also to get them the ball back, give them more opportunities to score out there, produce on the offensive side of the ball. So, I think the Panthers are one of those motherfuckers like, damn, we ain't see these motherfuckers coming. They went 9-8 in this new season coming up, 2026 season coming up. And then you got to worry about them in 2026-27, you know. So I think they're one of the teams there. Number 2, I'm going to go with the Seahawks, especially with the draft that they had this year. I understand they got rid of Geno. A few other guys have moved on after being with the franchise for so long. DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, who are like mainstay receivers there for a while, they moved on. But now you got Sam Darnold, who's in another season where he has to prove that he is a starter with staying power at the starter position at quarterback in this league. You got Cooper Kupp, who they signed, who's a vet, who's, you know, the other younger receivers that are probably be in that room there could glean some knowledge off of him, and he could probably still produce if he stays healthy for at least 6 games or more. You still got JSN. That motherfucker is, I'm sure, playing with Cooper Kupp is going to up his game to a even higher level than it already is. And then, you know, you got Jalen Miller as the backup. I think they signed Drew Lock back, right? So they're good there in case anyone goes down. And then for the future-wise, Jalen Miller alone, I mean, you get him rolling like they said they're going to do in packages, or try and put packages together, start slowly but surely building an offense around him, similar to like a Lamar Jackson type offense for him, while they work on his throwing game, while you have Sam Darnold in there for maybe a year or two. You know, the future is going to look like, oh, they're going to be back in the playoffs again and again, especially with what they're doing on the defensive side. They got Nick Amawari, that safety. I mean, they got that motherfucker, and I think he's going to have a crazy career with, you know, what he brings to the game at that position. You built up your offensive line in Gray Zabel. You got Damian Martinez later on around at running back. And I just felt like this draft also, they really built their roster there for some guys that are going to be able to contribute and produce. And then, you know, that they're probably going to stay on the same type path with their GM and how he likes to draft and scout talent for years to come. So I could definitely see the Seahawks sneaking into the playoffs next year, maybe being 10-7, 11-6. If they don't make the playoffs, it wouldn't be bad. I don't think they'd be that far off, being 10-7 missing the playoffs, or like 9-8 missing the playoffs. But next year, the year after next, and the year after that, they're going to constantly be in the playoffs. So how they've been building last year and this year, even with the crazy exodus of some of the dudes that they had to let go. Number 3, right behind them, I have to say the Cardinals, man. Even though it was all defense, I did say in one of my previous volumes that I would have liked them to maybe get a receiver or offensive lineman to give a little bit more help for their small quarterback that they have, and he's a veteran now who can still produce. But even before this draft, I was saying in the offseason, when the season ended, that the Cardinals are going to be a sneaky team to look out for because they lost a lot of one-possession games. They played tough and scrappy, but they're a team that I think you got to watch out for being in the playoffs. And then with this draft, all defense mainly, and probably some people out there, I don't know, I've been hearing half and half. Some people think they didn't have a good draft. There's some people that think they had a really, really good draft. They're going to be a team you ain't going to see fucking coming for real, because everyone's still going to be on the Rams. We know the Rams are going to be there. Niners probably going to be back. And then everybody else in the NFC is going to be back there and really be a force and a problem. But I think that the Niners might fuck around and take another step back. They're kind of so half and half to me. I could still see them being in the playoffs. I don't think their draft is as bad as some people were saying. Some of their players that they picked are actually good contributors, like low-key, going to be good role players to really good contributors within the next 2 to 3 years with that franchise, especially with the coaching and the whole, you know, foundation that got set up there. But I wouldn't be surprised if they took a little bit of a step back. But, you know, the NFC West is one of those divisions where I could definitely see. I say to myself probably almost every year, at least 3 or all 4 of those teams making the playoffs out of that division. So I see the Cardinals, really great talent that they got on defense, on the defensive line in the trenches, at corner, which they need with Will Johnson. And I think they got like one offensive pick. I think he was an offensive lineman, if I remember correctly. But even before that, the roster that they had before and how they played games last season, I think they're going to be, you know, a playoff team for the next 2 to 3 seasons or more. with Kyler Murray or even without Kyler Murray, because, with next year's QB class in the future, could be more talent to choose from if they need to, or if they want to move off him, which they probably won't with that big-ass contract he got. But even still with them, they can get into the playoffs and win some games in the playoffs. Number 4, I'm going to say the Jags. Jacksonville, I feel like the last 4 or 5 years previously, they've been, to me, because I've seen these guys play that they drafted, on paper, talent-wise, the guys that they drafted, they got a good team, a very talented team on paper. People say that this draft this year was a mistake and it was bad. They traded too much for Travis Hunter. But I'm like, when you have a roster that's no one's paying attention to, for real, just because you had losing seasons and Trevor Lawrence has been hurt or he's been terrible and he's been hurt, but you still have good talent on that roster that no one really knows about. I think these motherfuckers might fuck around and sneak into the playoffs this year as a wild card team. And they'll probably lose in the first round, but they're going to be back. They got guys on the edge. You got Trayvon Walker and Josh Hines-Allen, right? You still got Foye Oluokun. You still got Devin Lloyd for right now, or you're probably going to keep him. You should. Then you got their backup, Ventrell Miller, in case you get rid of one of them, right? You got some young corners there that played last year. Williams, I think his name. Williams or Wilson. But you got some young dudes that show some promise. Now you got new coaches in there also who are not rotating their defensive linemen and the defensive backs every fucking 2 plays, which is dumb. You need your defense to get in the rhythm. In football, you need continuity on both sides of the ball. So you got that dumb shit out of there. Now you got your corner and receiver, or both if you want them to be either or, in Travis Hunter, who is going to bring that energy and everything there. You got Brian Thomas Jr., who already brought the energy with having the year he had as a rookie. You bring back Trevor healthy, focused, and get his ass on point, with some coaching to really play the quarterback position with the talent he's got the correct way. And y'all motherfuckers might sneak in there. Then you got their draft picks. I just picked 3 off the top of my head. Ransaw, the corner out of Tulane. I've seen articles and seen these little videos. Dudes you don't know about. Everybody loves this motherfucker. I seen just one little highlight on him. I'm like, all right, dude could play. He could play. He a little bowler and shit. Ransaw out of Tulane, the cornerback. You protect Trevor. You got Wyatt Millam out of West Virginia, who I like his game and everything. He went to late rounds, though. He's still decent, solid player. And then you got Jack Kaza out of Notre Dame, who I've seen him in a few Notre Dame games pop out. A solid, hard-nosed linebacker that's popping out, making plays here and there. And you already got the talent that you got on the roster on both sides of the ball, where you need it to make a difference. These motherfuckers will come out of nowhere and be a fucking playoff team for the next 2 to 3 years. And then number 5, I'm going to say the Patriots. They had a fucking crazy-ass offseason, and their draft was amazing after that. As much as I hate to say it, and I can't stand the Patriots, these motherfuckers, they're back. And then you got the head coach with Mike Vrabel, and you already know how he coming. You already know the type of time he coming with the culture, and he back where his winning culture in his career started. Not started because he did play with Pitt and they was winning there. But I'm just saying where we remember him really winning championships in New England. And the draft they had, Kyle Williams, Brian Swinson, fucking Craig Woodson. Take your pick in every round. Will Campbell, you got your left tackle or guard for 10 years. Take your pick any fucking round. These motherfuckers are going to be in the playoffs for the next 2 to 3 years, probably 5 to 10 years. If motherfuckers is being coached right, barring any crazy injuries, and Drake May lives up to who it looks like he's probably going to be a really good quarterback in this league. So, shit. Them motherfuckers, and it ain't like you don't see them coming because it's the Patriots, but for how bad they've been the last few seasons, and people expect them still to be like, oh, they probably not going to make the playoffs. No, they could fuck around and make the playoffs this year. Will they? Up in the air, because a lot of competition coming out of the AFC. Of course, you also got to worry about the AFC West, where all 4 of those motherfuckers could probably make the playoffs. Yes, I'll say even the fucking Raiders, maybe. Right? With Pete Carroll's coaching and shit. And some of the players, they're going to know how to develop over there. But The Patriots, if they don't, cool. But in the next 2 to 3, 5 years, they're going to make it in that shit. And then I just put, like I said, I brought them up right now with Pete Carroll. Honorable mention, I put the Las Vegas Raiders. I think their draft is pretty good, pretty solid. But with the coaching, it's going to be even better. But you got Jack Bech. You got Cam Miller, low round quarterback, just in case he got to go in there and play. We don't know what he is, but he might fuck around be something that we don't know about that Tom Brady and Pete Carroll and the motherfuckers saw. They even got undrafted free agents that I like that are going to be able to ball. I think they had a sneaky nice draft. You got Ashton Genty, of course, in the first round. We know that's the highlight of their shit. But I think they had a sneaky nice draft, and I wouldn't be surprised if them motherfuckers with some of the veteran players that they already have on that roster being in the playoffs this year, but definitely within the next 2 years, and with more years to come to see what they might do at quarterback later on next year. And then speaking on that real quick, everyone talking about the QB class next year, is going to be way better. It's going to be way better next year than it was this year. And I just had to question, just to question it, just to fuck around, just something to think about. Are we sure, though? And I'm not saying that it's not, but people say this every year, and then niggas fuck around and be bust. You know what I mean? They be bust. But yeah, I'll say this. I'll say this though. Yeah, it's gonna be better because it's gonna be a lot more options. It's gonna be a lot more options for teams deep into the second or third, maybe even fourth, that you could get good production from this class of quarterbacks, because there's gonna be so many more options. Are the top 5, top 10 QBs that much better than Cam Ward, Shador, whoever else was in this class? I don't know. I'm gonna say maybe there's about 2 or 3 of them, but they motherfuckers is hyping the shit and talking about all of the first 5, 6 motherfuckers is better than all these other niggas before. I'm like, okay, we'll see about that. You know what I mean? Are we sure about that? But I think that it's better there's a lot more options. So you don't have to be a desperate franchise to be like, yo, I got to trade everything to move up in the top 5, or I got to reach at pick 15 or pick 25. You know what I mean? I don't have to reach for someone that's really a third round talent for how they are. But if we get him in our program, we could develop him and he could become a really good starter, to possibly great player in this league at that position for us. You know what I mean? So there's a lot more options deep into the second, third, maybe even fourth round, in this QB class coming out. And to be honest, I don't think Archer's going to be coming out next year. I don't think he's coming out yet. But I'll say this, unless this season coming up with Texas, he has out-of-this-world gameplay, out-of-this-world stats, you know what I'm saying? Then, yeah, he's obviously he's going to come out. But then at the same time, you never know how that family wants to move and how their foresight for the future, how they see things with certain franchises and with him and how they want to move and everything like that, which is a smart thing to do. But if he has an out-of-this-world statistically and you see the gameplay and all of that, he coming out next year. It'll be dumb not to. He's going to have to. But if it's good, like, oh, he had a good season, yeah, there's still a lot more he could get better at. He'll probably go back, but we'll see. Even if he does come out, there's gonna be other guys there that you also got to keep your eye on. A lot more talent out there. I mean, Drew Aller out of Penn State, top 5 pick. The dude Mendoza, he played at Cal, top 15-ish pick. Sellers, he's a maybe top 20-ish pick to second round, but I know motherfuckers are gonna hype and gas him and media finesse him to be a top 5 because he's a dual threat and everything. Does Cade Klubnik or Nussmeier make a big jump, during that draft process and fuck around and get into the top 5, top 10, you know what I mean, or drop to a top 15? Was, maybe the season they have, someone reaches for them at a 15 when they probably should go second or third. Carson Beck, does he make a bounce back at Miami and someone reach for him at the bottom of the first round when he probably should be a second, third, fourth round quarterback? I don't think you need to see shit like that next year. Yeah, there's more options, but is it going to be the best and way, way better draft class? We'll see. These motherfuckers still got to play a full season. And then you got Nico, all the shit surrounding him, does he go late first, most likely, or all the shit surrounding him, and then we got to see his actual play? Does he go second or maybe even third? Shit, that'd be a nice find to me as a franchise to get a nigga like Nico in the third round. You know what I'm saying? And then we just coach and develop him to be our franchise quarterback in the future. Or later round talent also who could be really, really good backups to, in the right opportunity, be starters and win a good amount of games for you. Aiden Childs, Taylor Green, Malik Murphy, guys like that you could pick up probably between the second and fourth round. That could be, you know what I mean, out of this world talent no one was looking at like that, and then they really turn your franchise around. Shit, I would take that. Yeah, I think there's a lot more options, which makes it better. But you know, all those top. My thing is this on this argument is: are those top 5 guys really gonna be, you know, worlds beyond better than the last like 3 to 4 QB classes that we've seen? Because even the last 3 to 4 QB classes that we've seen, these motherfuckers is mid to they ain't cutting it. They all Kirk Cousins and below. You know what I mean? But just something to think about. I figure I ask and put out there before wrapping this one up. But that will wrap this volume up. Welcome to the franchise. Y'all out there, be easy.